Salutare, dragilor! Sunt tare fericită că pot să fiu acasă în România, prezentă de aici, din superbul Miami, cu ediții speciale, cu invitați extraordinari, inspiraționali de fiecare dată. Iar în seara aceasta am lângă mine o femeie superbă, o doamnă superbă, care a scris istorie în moda internațională în ultimii 20 de ani. Este vorba despre designerul Ema Savahl și în seara aceasta port una dintre creațiile Ema Savahl, superba rochie, sunt absolut îndrăgostită de ea. Suntem la fabrica Emei din Miami, am hotărât să filmăm aici pentru că unde ar fi putut fi mai potrivit de atât, iar Ema se află chiar aici lângă mine seara aceasta. Emma, welcome to Coffee and Cream.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for making time for us. I know that you're such a busy woman and I appreciate it because I think that you're such an inspiring woman. I had to have you on one of my interviews. So I know that you have many Romanian women among your clients.
Yes.
And I'm sure that they can wait to hear your story and see your new designs.
Yes.
So I know that you started your brand in '96 here in Miami, but
Yes.
your story goes way back in Albania, where you were born, in Tirana.
Yes.
So tell us, during communism, so tell us how it all started.
So I landed in Italy in 1990 with my family.
Yeah, but I know that, so you're born in Tirana.
Yes.
And your father, you went into sports, right? It was not,
Yes.
fashion,
Yes.
fashion was not your first love. So
No.
your dad was a volleyball coach for
It
the
wasn't
national team.
it wasn't my first love and it wasn't my second either. So I was an athlete. I started since 9 years old. My dad was a coach of a national team in Albania. And my whole family actually are athletes. So that was my beginning. I went all the way up to the best team in Albania, and I also went up to the national team for the youth because I left Albania when I was 19. But that was my beginning. But since it was a communist country and we had no clothes, and my mom's family was a declassed family, the families that used to be rich before communism, they loved to wear well. So we kind of made our own clothes, and it was like always a gathering of little girls making embroidery, coming up with designs. So I grew up with a lot of fashion in my life without trying.
From your aunts, right?
Yes.
Because your aunts were amazing seamstresses, and so you learned how to sew
Yes,
from them and the
yes.
love for fashion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because-
Very early on.
How did your aunts and mother and the women back then referred to fashion? Like,
As I said, like my mom's family was a declassed family, so
Yeah.
they had been in Italy. They will travel a lot, so they had beautiful clothing. They were affluent. They had traveled. So when communism came, I was a communist child. I had never seen any of what they had seen. So it was really interesting that they had like they expected beautiful things. They wanted beautiful things, and I was a communist child. I was fine with black and white and gray. And so growing up with aunts that loved to create and used me and the little girls around as models was like a very special thing because there was no beautiful clothes out there, but my aunts had the capability of bringing them to life. So that
That's
was like
amazing.
pure magic for me as a little girl. Yeah.
so that's when the love for fashion started. It's basically you inherited it.
Yeah, I did inherit. So my first love was volleyball, sport. My second love is drawing. I draw really well. I love to draw. And then my third love was
How did that
fashion.
start, the drawing?
I have a cousin that is a genius, and he had incredible talent of drawing. And I grew up with him. He was about 7-8 years older than me, and I admired him so much. And I guess I got inspired by him, so I started drawing very early on. And I probably was an ADHD child because I needed to do something. I couldn't just stay in the desk. And so I drew a lot. All my books was full of drawings. And as my teacher spoke, I created this abstract drawing, which later years I discovered that I had a connection with what the teacher was saying. And I was able to actually, in my drawing, read everything that was being said in the class. And that was like another story, but it was a quantum jump in me.
That is amazing, and you actually touched a very important point of of education, because you just said that you were maybe an ADHD kid, but you learned through admiration, by admiring basically
Yeah.
someone. So we need to admire a mentor or a teacher
Yeah,
in order
absolutely.
to receive their gifts.
Totally. Admiration is like opening the gates of downloading the program that they carry. It's like that's how you plug in and download something that you admire in other people.
So at 19, you moved to Italy
Yes.
and you joined the national volleyball team, which is a huge thing.
Well, no, it didn't happen like that. I kind of climbed a little bit. So I started with a lower series and I played for 5 years in Italy. I went to Italy as I was playing volleyball with the university team of Albania. And I found the team immediately, so that was my first year. It was very exciting to be in a capitalist country or socialist, whatever it is, but it was a different world.
How did that feel?
A little bit shocking at the beginning, and I have to tell you what was the most shocking is that you couldn't go to the beach. You had to pay to go to the beach. Now that was shocking for me. And then you had to pay to buy water. That was really shocking. And there was a couple of things that I thought was horrible of the capitalist world. How could they do this to humanity? Because we thought communism was terrible. But that was the first three things that I didn't like of the capitalist world. But beside that, there was abundance, and people were very white, and their texture was different. We were like as if we were coming from a different planet.
Did you feel free?
No, I didn't. Italy didn't give me freedom. America gave me freedom. Yeah.
We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
We're
No,
gonna get to
actually, I
America.
felt more free in Albania than in Italy. Maybe because I come from Tirana, which is a bigger city, and we went to a smaller town. So kind of everybody knew what you were doing. So no, I didn't. But it offered me other amazing things.
Like joining at one point, right?
So I started playing volleyball in a lower category than what I came from Albania. So it was nice to be like the captain of the team and to be like higher there. It offered me, I started modeling in Italy. I was the fitting model.
I know, because you had an accident, right, at one point, and you couldn't continue your volleyball
Well, that
career.
was, the accident was what brought me to America. But as I was
Oh.
playing volleyball for 8 months in Italy, then you have 3 months of freedom, which I became a fitting model for Blue Marine, Para, and Off Limit. So I already knew how to sew and how to cut clothing. And then I added this knowledge of wearing amazing clothing from best designers. And so first thing I did, I was like, yeah, let me immediately start copying what they do.
What did sport do for you, and how important is it for a child to go into a sport?
Very good question, really, for mothers to know. So both my parents were coaches. So I grew up hearing them talking about their students, their players, and
Your mom was a coach?
basketball coach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so we grew up hearing about how athletes perform. It was like very interesting. And my dad will pick up a talent or an element and bring him into making them champions. And it was like steps of growth to achieve that. And it's amazing what sport can do for children. Number one is the chemistry of the brain. It somehow, I think it produces DMT of something. It makes you more spiritual and happier. And the development, like how they came in and how they became, like the confidence that you get out of having a body that performs amazing.
The transformations,
that
right?
pure transformation. So, and I had, lately, I've known it all along, that as you use your body, the chemistry of your mind changes, the chemistry of your muscles changes, but your brain produces DMT when you work out. So you become more spiritual, more connected, more into the oneness of everybody. And I've noticed that since I was playing sports, like athlete people were happier and more connected. It was just something we were. And when I jumped from volleyball into the world of fashion, I saw the difference immediately. And then the other information I wanted to share is that when you contract your body and the muscles, your body produces a hormone that's called the hope hormone that makes people happier, more hopeful of what's coming now, how life is is coming into them. You know, they have better adaptability to live a better life. So yes, I'm so into that.
I know it's so amazing. While you were saying that, I think all of us are thinking about it. Because while I'm in the hot yoga, while I'm on the mat and I'm working, I have revelations many times. Like I feel smarter.
Totally.
You know? It's pure chemistry because yes, we need. It's probably the best gift that you can give your child.
Yes, absolutely.
Together with good nutrition and school, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And reading as well. You know, reading creates an amazing imagination that being on the phone all day long, it does not. Like transforming words into imagination inside your mind, it's like such a powerful tool for creativity. So yes.
Yeah, it's probably the most powerful.
Yeah,
tool.
yeah. I grew up with no TV, the early age. I guess that's why I drew so well. Yeah. You know, like probably if I had TV, I wouldn't draw as well because I needed to see the visual of my thoughts. So I put a lot of effort on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's actually integrated the same kind of philosophy in the Waldorf school. I know because my son goes to a Waldorf school, and first of all, they're only writing and drawing with colors. There's no black or white, you know, and they're drawing everything. They're writing a text, and then they have to create a drawing.
Amazing.
About that text. So
beautiful.
It's
switching from left brain to right. That's amazing. Yeah. Beautiful.
That's how my son fell in love with school. It was the only way.
Yeah, I had a hard time with my son's schooling as well. He didn't want to be there. Yeah, he's like, Mom, I've never picked this planet. If I knew I was going to school, I'll pick another planet.
Oh my God!
What am I doing here? Yeah.
So how did you make him fall in love?
I didn't. I sent him to a sports school in Club Med Academy. Here in Port St. Lucie. So he's a kinesthetic like myself. I can only memorize if I'm drawing it. If I don't draw it, I cannot memorize it. But the day that I learned that, I became from a painful student. I hated school, being one of the best students of my school, and I was picked up as a professor in university because I learned to actually memorize by creating a symmetrical drawing that later on it came to my fashion. It became like one of like big elements of allowing me to create fashion that doesn't exist, because I'm telling stories and I draw my stories because I can see the stories, I can see the music, I can see the sound. And so I think a lot of kids that have a really hard time at school, rather than pumping them with medicine, how about discovering, like, how do they learn? Because my son is a kinesthetic. He built that laser machine by himself, 19 years old. You know, it cost me $120,000. He built it with $4,000. You know, it's like, Mom, let me make your job easier. Wow. But this is a kid that didn't want to be in the class, was having a hard time.
But how do you find out what is your kid? Kinesthetic?
You know, there is tests that you can do. It doesn't come to my mind right now. I know what's a test, like maybe it comes in a moment. But there is tests for you to plug in to just answer the questions and know what your talent is, where you thrive, where you don't thrive. And you can go as spiritual as human design to discover what...
I've heard about this human design. I need to look into, right? I need to look that
Very powerful.
Up.
Yeah, hands down. One of the most powerful systems I've ever encountered to know and love thyself. Like, it's a mechanism of self-loving practically.
See, this is so, that's why I want to interview people like you, because it is so important that inspirational, successful women like yourself, you know, tell the world what to do, actually, because it's easy to just go on TV and say, oh, I'm fabulous, I'm successful, but I will never tell you what I did.
Right.
So that's why I think it's very important, you know, for parents to understand what they need to do with their children in order for them to become successful adults.
Yes. So my father was a brilliant Methodist. He is still alive. So he was professor on the University of Physical Education in Albania, and he created the methodology of how to train. So let's say you're doing a movement, you're spiking, right? So he'll be like, step 1, you do this, step 2, step 3. So to teach the excellent technique of an action by piecing it in little parts that you learn, and when you combine them together, you have the pure technique at the highest level. So that's being a Methodist. So I'm an amazing Methodist. I'm very good at chopping things into little parts and feeding them in a way that when you put it together, a miracle comes together without the effort of creating a miracle. Like the miracle becomes effortless because it's the sum of many parts that come together, but if you have it all, it will look like eating the elephant, but when you chop it down, it's like you can download the program easier, a lot easier.
And that also helps with organizing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Later.
Like for example, like just a few days ago, I have so much going on. I have Miami Swim Week.
I see.
And so many events, like so much going on. And I felt like something was pulling me back. Like I was like, wow, it's so big. And immediately I told myself, to get what I need to do, I need to be in a different vibration. I cannot feel like this, it's so big. How am I going to get myself out of this? So I remember the Joe Dispenza meditation that is like how you to bring like the energy all up your spine and concentrate it up here. So I did the meditation for like 10 minutes. I killed the day. So I'm very aware, it's like I'm not feeling that great. So let me do a breathing. I'm not feeling that great. Let me call my girlfriend, Natasha, that always gets me out of it. Like to be self-aware when you're not feeling great and do something about it.
You need to
Yeah.
make a move, do something
Like,
about
be
it. Don't stay there.
Be responsible. It's like the biggest advice my dad has ever given me, and my dad was a legend in my country. He goes to me like, whatever happens in your life, you're responsible because the only control you have is you. You don't like it, fix it, change your mind about it, tell yourself a different story, but deal with it. You know, because every time you don't deal with something, it's like a computer program opened in your mind that keeps running. And when you have 2, 3 of these computer programs, you slow down and you're very stressed out. So you go to close every program one by one. So make a decision. Can you like it? Do you hate it? Cut it down. Don't you like it? Tell a different story. You don't like it enough? Confront it, but do it. Don't leave programs open in your mind all the time.
Because we are responsible for our own lives,
Fully
and we tend to
responsible.
blame other people from
Yeah.
the outside always, and it's this victimization basically that we
Yeah.
that cannot exist in our lives.
Well,
if-
because when you're in victim mentality, you have no choice. The choice is to the people that are victimizing you. So what you do, you take the power away from you and you give it to them. It's like, do something with that with me. You know, when you take responsibility, you are riding your horse. Yeah, it's like the horse is not pulling you. You're telling where to go. It's like grabbing life from the reins and ride it. Just a beautiful metaphor. It's
that's so wonderful. And let's say hi to your father and say thank you.
Yay, Dad! I love you so much. Both my mom and dad, like wonderful, powerful people. Beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
And you are too, and your son is so lucky to have you as a mother, because
Yeah.
you brought that strong
Thank
mentality into
Thank
him.
you. I push him a lot, so he goes like you're not happy. I'm nationally champion. I am this. I'm that. Why are you not happy? I said, baby, you check. You did that already. How about next?
Next.
Next.
Yeah, I have to learn. We all do, actually, too. So let's go back a little bit to Italy. So you started going into fashion as a model for
I was a fitting model.
a fitting model, right? For Blue Marine, Para, and Off Limit.
Off Limit.
And also you started studying pattern making, fabrics, raw materials, and artistic design.
Well, since I came with the knowledge of how to sew and how to cut and doing my own wardrobe in my communist country, and then life pushed me into modeling, and I realized that maybe there was some affinity there. So my fiance at the time had a friend that she was professor on the fashion school of Bari, and she gave pattern making. So that is how I went and took her class and learned to drape and the pattern making, because my learning was like very how do you say, like practical. I hadn't studied the technicality of it. So I added another facet to my knowledge of fashion and clothing.
That is a beautiful story. So I need to ask you, do you believe in, I'm sure you do, but I want to ask you because I want your answers because they're fabulous. Do you believe in destiny?
I'm a very spiritual person.
I know.
So I think destiny is the present vibration you're carrying. Like whatever you're vibrating at the moment, if you're vibrating love, you're going to attract that quantum reality what love is present. I think we move from quantum to quantum, experiencing time as we jump from. And the reason how I know this is, you know, this dress, it's somewhere else you can see it more. It's called Ender Bubbles. In Albania means bubbles of dreams. And I created it in 2014. I presented it in World Fashion Week. And it was nice, but it didn't get that attention. Now you hear about quantum reality, quantum science a lot. This dress is my best-selling dress. I did Grammys with it. I've dressed more celebrity than any other dress.
So which one is
this
it?
one here.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
So the bubbles of reality,
Yeah.
and it shows the quantum nature of our reality. So how come everybody loves them? 11 years after I launched the collection, nobody cared. And this year that we're hearing so much more about quantum, everybody likes the dress. I mean, that was like, it waited 11 years in my sample room.
Yeah, because you're a genius. So then, of course, you're 11 years.
Well, I better
20
be a
years
genius.
before
I've done
everyone.
10,000 hours, right? It's a 10,000 hours of genius. I've done like 20,000, or maybe 100,000 of hours doing this, what I do.
I had these questions prepared a little bit later, but now that you got into the design and into the spirituality part of it, and you say that it's ex nihilo, out of nothing. How is it all happening?
When you come from a communist country and then you come to America and you have no papers, but you're launching a fashion collection, trust me, you have to trust life because there was no support of any kind or knowledge. You know, I didn't finish fashion school. I didn't have papers yet. I didn't have support of any kind. So it was like a full act of faith, just throwing it out there with full excitement and zero expectation, knowing that whatever is going to come is going to be the fastest way I can get to where I want to go.
The destiny.
It's like Indiana Jones, like jumping over the cliff, expecting that you actually can levitate and just not fall. That has been actually my whole life.
Yeah,
It's
so you
like,
do believe that whatever is meant to be yours, it will come regardless of what you do, or?
I think that if I vibrate it, it will come to me.
And if you don't vibrate it, regardless if that is your destiny or not?
I don't think there is such thing as destiny.
You don't
Destiny is
vibrate.
your level of vibration. But that is the destiny.
Yeah.
It's like destiny is like, that is how you can vibrate, so that's what you attract. So what I think what has happened right now, like the language that we use right now is more, we know there is destiny, but for who can handle it, you can create your own.
And because you're such a spiritual person, I know, and you just told me, but I felt it before. I had no idea about this. How do you bring your spirituality into your designs? You know, because each dress is a unique, fantastic piece of art. So how important is it to send messages and, you know, through your art?
Well, first of all, I don't think there is any artist that creates art without intention. It is an intentional art, always. You're pushing out something of you, so it is imbued, it is coded, the art, with whatever you're trying to express. The question is like how aware you are doing that. So when I launched my first piece ever was one butterfly top. And I had come to America. I'd been here for about 6 months. I was ripped. I was coming as an athlete, professional athlete. So I was in my rollerblades, and I'm going to Lincoln Road.
Gorgeous.
And there is this farmer market and there is a butterfly, oversized butterfly, hanging on top of the fruits. So I put it in front of my body and I look in the mirror or gap and I act like an ice skater, and I make a spin around my rollerblades and I bend over to my boyfriend like as if I was a skater. And he said, wow, that is pretty impressive. And so I'm like, I'm gonna go make one. So I went to Michael's, I bought some paint and I made my first butterfly, and I wore that
So
evening.
that's where the butterflies come from?
So I told him that, you know, the way I feel right now, I feel like I'm just coming out of a cocoon and I'm becoming a butterfly myself. It's like I'm a different human being. I've never been this before. So that was the idea of the butterfly, you know. I was expressing the expansion of my consciousness, you know. I'm coming from a communist country to Miami in 1990s. It was like an absolute blooming of my existence. So I put that dress, that butterfly, with a very low waist skirt, and I went to a club, and Ingrid Cazares, which was best girlfriend with Madonna, goes like, what is that? And that is where my confidence started on the butterfly, because I knew who she was. She was like the huge on the scene, the party scene. And I was like, well, if Ingrid Cazares can think this is a great piece, and I should go to the stores. So I put my rollerblades on and I went to the best stores. They said, you want to buy my butterfly? They were like, what the hell is that?
With your rollerblades
With my
on?
rollerblades.
Fantastic.
And a 1960 luggage with flowers. I'll put them inside and I'll just skate all over South Beach. And so that is how it started. And then one of the guys that was a buyer, he's like, do you want to go to Las Vegas magic show? I'm like, what's that? I'm coming from communism, right? What's this magic show?
Yeah.
So we went that year there and I killed it. We just sold $75,000. You have to imagine that my whole belongings of my family, that we sold everything and went to Italy, was like $1,200. So within like few years, I go to Las Vegas. I'm like the most innovative brand in the show, and sold that much just of one item, a butterfly top. So that
Just
is
the butterfly top sold
Yeah.
70. So what year was that?
1997 or 8.
Oh, so you just started.
Yeah, I just started. That my butterfly top was the first piece I ever created. Yeah, I had done other stuff, but that was ex nihilo. It never existed before. You know, that is why, and it was my personal transformation. And so right now,
I know, because I knew it had to have something with the creation part of it. 'Cause
Yeah.
It comes from some.
Yeah.
Because that was my next question. Where do you know, what inspires you? Where do you think all this creativity comes? You know.
I think like the cutting edge of my run in this life is my personal evolution, because you perceive everything as high or low, you vibrate yourself. So to be on the cutting edge of everything is to be on the cutting edge of my own perception. So meaning, when I'm evolving from what I know it's stopping me from being a better version of me to what I'm becoming, that is the band of my creativity. And so right now, for example, I brought another butterfly. In a quarter of a century, I'm launching a new butterfly, and that was a spiritual trip that I had. I don't know, elongate into that, but I was a blue butterfly in a black and red world of war. And I realized that if I could hold myself in fear and anger, I became black and red and they wouldn't see me, so I could pass safe. And then I realized that I've been playing a little bit safe lately, so I should actually have a quantum jump. So that is where the butterfly comes in, and I know where I'm going. But we in Albania don't talk about where we're going until we go, because it's kind of a curse. It doesn't happen, so yeah. But I'm in the process.
I've heard about that. So you think it's true? If you talk about your plans?
If I think like energetically, it's not that it's true. But if I speak it once, if I speak it twice, if I speak it 3 times, I flatten my excitement. And I do that by depending on what the other person will say. because I'm using them as mirrors to my belief. And
We all do.
if that mirror of belief is not holding me up to excitement and trust, and I might flatten my energy. You know, so if I tell somebody, oh my God, I'm going to create this, and the person is like, yeah, but you can't. And if you do it, you shouldn't, and your energy goes like, yeah. So when you are inspired, when you have inspiration inside you, you hold it in there until creation, because you might flatten it and doesn't have enough momentum to come into creation.
That is an amazing advice. Vă mulțumesc tare mult că ați stat alături de noi. Ne vedem duminica viitoare la ora 8. Vă iubesc și seara minunată!